The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
Former President Yoon Suk-yeol planned as a botched martial law order for more than a year. A special counsel team concluded on Monday. There was no evidence found that his wife, Kim Gun-hee, was directly involved in the martial law plan. The leaders of South Korea and Laos held a summit talks here in Seoul on Monday, where the two sides agreed to seal a comprehensive partnership. Over the weekend, at least 15 people were killed in a shooting at Australia's Bondi Beach. Authorities held a fruit shop owner who saved many lives by disarming one of the attackers. The 6-month investigation into former President Yoon Suk-yeol's alleged insurrection has come to a conclusion on Monday, with the prosecutors announcing the details of what they see as the true motive behind the martial law being declared. Our Park Gun-ho leads us tonight.
A team of around 240 investigators began probing the case last June, and after 6 months, the investigation has now come to an end. On Monday, Special Prosecutor Cho Eun-suk announced the findings of the probe into insurrection and treason charges allegedly led by former President Yoon Suk-yeol. Cho said the investigation concluded that Yoon's declaration of martial law in December last year was aimed at eliminating political opponents and suppressing dissent, rather than the reasons Yoon cited during his martial law declaration, including repeated impeachments and budget cuts since the 2024 general election in April. Cho added that investigators identified circumstantial evidence showing Yoon and his associates had been preparing for the move well before the actual declaration.
Yoon and others had been preparing for the declaration of martial law since before October 2023. They planned to suspend political activities and the functions of the National Assembly through military force, establish an emergency legislative body to replace the Assembly, seize legislative and judicial authority, eliminate opposition forces, and monopolize power.
He added that December 3rd was chosen to minimize potential U.S. involvement, as it was close to the U.S. presidential election. The special prosecutor also revealed circumstances showing close coordination between the government and the military. He said the relocation of the presidential office to Yongsan in central Seoul, where the defense ministry is located, facilitated closer ties, leading to frequent meetings between Yoon and then Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun over plans for martial law. Investigators also said the previous Defense Minister Shin Won-sik stepping down was linked to the issue, as Shin had opposed martial law. And he added that legal risks surrounding former First Lady Kim Gun-hee were an underlying factor, though it was not viewed as a primary motive. Efforts to provoke North Korea were also revealed as a pretext for declaring martial law.
We found that abnormal military operations were carried out from October 2024 to provoke North Korea and justify martial law. But the effort failed when Pyongyang did not respond. Yoon and others then used the political situation as a pretext and declared martial law late on December 3rd, despite having no legal grounds.
Over the 180-day investigation, the prosecution team indicted 27 people, including Yoon, and sent them to trial. With the probe now concluded, around 30 prosecutors, including Cho, will remain to handle trial proceedings, which are expected to take place in early January and oversee the prosecutions in court. 박건우, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung and his Laotian counterpart Thongloun Sisoulith today held summit talks seeking mutually beneficial and future-oriented cooperation. The two sides have agreed to forge a comprehensive partnership. Our Presidential Office correspondent Yoon Jung-min has more.
Celebrating 30 years of restored diplomatic relations, South Korea and Laos have agreed to upgrade their ties to a comprehensive partnership. This as President Lee Jae-myung hosted Laotian President Thongloun Sisoulith at his office on Monday, having invited him for a two-day official visit.
풍부한 천연 자원을 보유하고 있는 라오스는 핵심 광물 공급망 구축을 위한 중요한 파트너 국가이기도 합니다.
Laos aims to transform itself as a regional hub for transportation and logistics, and President Lee expressed hopes to work together as a partner along the way, hoping for a mutually beneficial and future-oriented partnership that can actually benefit the people.
It is an opportunity to reaffirm the success that the two countries have achieved by cooperating in various fields over the past 30 years.
Since restoring relations in 1995 that were severed following the rise of communist governments in Southeast Asia in the 1970s, the trade volume between South Korea and Laos has grown 20-fold, on top of people-to-people exchanges, hitting a record high last year.
한국은 라오스국 입장에서 보면 3대 개발 협력 파트너이고 5위의 투자 국가이며 또 라오스는 한 아세안, 한 메콩 협력의 매우 중요한 파트너 국가입니다.
Laos is still not able to graduate from the least developed country status. I ask for your support in this matter.
The focus was also on the two countries bolstering coordination to combat transnational crimes, such as online scams. Following the talks, the two sides signed law enforcement and extradition treaties and renewed an MOU related to the employment permit system. The leaders also agreed to establish a hotline channel between relevant authorities to protect the safety of the Korean people in Laos. Also discussed was resolving North Korea nuclear issues, according to presidential spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung, adding that the Laotian president highly appreciated the Korean government's peace efforts and promised to continue making constructive efforts. The summit concluded with a luncheon hosted by the South Korean first couple. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
In other news, South Korea's exports in the information and communications technology sector in November reached an all-time high, driven by a boom in the semiconductor industry. Lee Jin has the details.
Exports of South Korea's information and communications technology products jumped more than 20% year-on-year in November to post the highest monthly figure on record. According to data from the South Korean Ministry of Science and ICT on Sunday, ICT exports in November rose 24.3% from a year earlier to reach a record $25.4 billion. Following strong ICT export figures in September and October, this marks the 10th consecutive month of on-year growth. This performance was effectively driven by semiconductors, which accounted for about 68% of total ICT exports and recorded the highest ever performance for a single product category. Chip exports surged 38.6% on year. But mobile phone exports only grew 3.5%, computers and peripheral devices 1.9%, and telecommunications devices 3.3%, while exports of displays dropped by 3.7%. By region, ICT exports to China continued to rise, up 25.3%. Shipments to Vietnam were up 11.6%, those to the EU were up 18.1%, and ICT exports to the United States were up 7.9%. Semiconductor exports to the U.S. jumped 43.3% to $1.58 billion. Despite uncertainties related to tariffs and reshoring policies, expanded investment in AI data centers is believed to have driven demand. Meanwhile, imports of ICT products rose 2.7% on year to $12.7 billion US, marking a record trade surplus of nearly $12.7 billion US. Both ICT exports and the trade surplus logged their highest levels since records began. 이은진, Arirang News.
The police raid at Coupang is coming to a close, and authorities are soon expected to delve deeper into the cause and circumstances of the massive leak of personal data at the e-commerce platform. Kim Do-yeon reports.
The Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency says more than 60% of the materials needed for its investigation into the Coupang data breach have been secured. In a press briefing on Monday, Seoul Police Chief Park Jung-bo stated that the search-and-seizure operation, which has been ongoing for several days, is expected to be concluded by Tuesday at the latest. Chief Park explained that the process has taken longer than anticipated because investigators are selectively seizing relevant evidence from a vast amount of raw data to minimize business disruption. While there were initially some disagreements between the police and Coupang regarding the scope of the seizure on the first day, authorities say the company is now cooperating smoothly. Investigators plan to analyze the secure data to definitively trace the leakage pathway and identify any internal security failures. Police are also looking to secure the custody of the primary suspect, a Chinese national and former Coupang employee who is currently believed to be overseas. While the police investigation enters its final phase, the company's leadership is facing a backlash from the National Assembly after Coupang founder and chairman Kim Bum-seok officially declined a request to appear as a witness at the upcoming parliamentary hearing scheduled for December 17th. Kim submitted a statement of non-attendance citing unavoidable overseas business schedules and his residence outside of Korea. With the company's owner refusing to face lawmakers, criticism is mounting regarding Coupang's corporate accountability in the wake of one of the country's largest data breaches. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In the aftermath of a deadly mass shooting in Sydney, investigators are piecing together what happened, while a dramatic act of courage by an ordinary citizen is being widely praised. Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
A fruit shop owner in Sydney has been hailed as a hero after risking his life to disarm a gunman during Australia's deadliest mass shooting in nearly 3 decades. 43-year-old Ahmed Al-Ahmed was identified as the civilian seen in widely shared footage from Sunday's attack at Bondi Beach, where he hid behind parked cars before charging at the armed suspect from behind, wrestling away his rifle and knocking him to the ground. Australian police say the shooting was carried out by a 50-year-old man and his 24-year-old son during a Jewish celebration on Sunday afternoon, killing at least 15 people. Dozens of other victims are still receiving medical care in hospital, and Ahmed is among them with bullet wounds to his arm and hand. As the video of the moment Ahmed intervened spread rapidly online, his cousin spoke to a local news outlet to confirm that Ahmed was recovering in hospital following surgery.
We hope he will be fine. He's a hero, 100% he's a hero, because what we see on the social media, he's 100% hero.
Global leaders joined in the praise, with Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese paying tribute by saying that Australians had once again seen people run into danger to save others, while US President Donald Trump called Ahmed a very, very brave person. Public support has poured in as well, with a GoFundMe campaign set up to support Ahmed and his family, gathering thousands of Australian dollars within hours. In the aftermath of the shooting, details about the suspects are emerging while Australia seeks tougher gun laws. Police say the older suspect held a recreational hunting license, while Australia's security agency had previously reviewed the son over close ties to an Islamic State terrorism cell and determined he posed no risk of violent activity. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said he will put tougher gun laws on the cabinet's agenda, including reforms to limit the number of guns that can be used and a time limit on gun licenses. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has offered to drop Kyiv's aspirations to join the NATO military alliance as he held talks with U.S. envoys in Berlin to end the war with Russia. Cha Yun-kyung reports.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy stated on Sunday local time that Ukraine could give up its attempts to join NATO if strong security from the U.S. and Europe is guaranteed. The move marks a major shift for Ukraine, which has aspired to join the NATO military alliance as a safeguard against Russian attacks. Zelenskyy said that the U.S. and European and other partner security guarantees instead of NATO membership was a compromise on Ukraine's side. He had earlier called for peace and guarantees that Russia would not attack Ukraine again. Zelenskyy told reporters before departing for Berlin for talks with the U.S. that the U.S. and some European partners have not supported Ukraine to join NATO, adding that the security guarantees must be legally binding and supported by the U.S. Congress. He continued that bilateral security guarantees from the U.S. equivalent to NATO's Article 5, along with security assurances from European countries, Canada, and Japan are realistic measures for defense. NATO's Article 5 states that an attack on one NATO member is considered an attack on them all. Zelenskyy also said he expects to receive further updates after Ukrainian and U.S. military officials meet in Germany. But the Trump administration has long been opposed to Ukraine's NATO membership, as Russia has insisted that Ukraine must reduce its military and that Western troops must never enter Ukraine. It remains uncertain whether the Trump administration would agree to security guarantees equivalent to NATO's Article 5. Zelenskyy also said separately on X that the key thing is that all the steps we agree on with partners must work in practice to deliver guaranteed security, and only reliable guarantees can deliver peace. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
Well, soldiers need to eat nourishing meals, and to give soldiers more flexibility in when and what they eat, the U.S. Army in South Korea has opened its first autonomous dining facility in Daegu's Camp Walker. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung went for a visit.
This is Market 19, a dining facility at the Camp Walker U.S. Army base in Daegu City. But you don't see any big batches or huge pots of food. Instead, there is a state-of-the-art machine that provides tasty dishes on demand when soldiers order them through the touchscreen. In just 5 minutes, a robot turns the ingredients into a dish with toppings on it. Managing the cafeteria has become much easier, with a screen just telling people what to do.
So what is this screen all about?
Sure, so this is our resupply screen. It helps us to know when ingredients are running low and when to restock them.
So basically we need to restock this A1 ingredient.
Broccoli is coming soon, and then also soon pork sausage slices.
The system, the first of its kind at any U.S. military base in the world, helps improve readiness by allowing soldiers to get meals whenever they want.
We basically took the hours of the typical cafeteria and we expanded it. So we're open from 0 to 7:30 to 7 p.m. every day. Gives the soldiers a healthy option all day for them to come in and grab a healthy meal.
Around 10 dishes are on the menu, including Korean dishes added with Katyusha soldiers, the Korean augmentation to the United States Army in mind. But they're not just popular with Katyusha, but with all the soldiers.
The most popular dish, chosen by around 70% of the soldiers, is pork jeukdapbap, with plenty of vegetables and chopped scallions on top.
Robot-made dishes are not only providing soldiers with healthy, hearty meals, but also giving cooks more time to develop new ideas and experiment beyond standard recipes.
But with this machine, creating those same formulas for us, we can actually use that extra time given to us to hone our craft more. So you have a cook cooking in a regular dining facility who's doing everything by the standard, but people here, we would work to go beyond that standard and set a new standard for the future of nutrition and the military.
A hearty, well-prepared meal powers soldiers' strength and readiness. Following a 6-month trial period, the USFK will decide whether to expand it to other bases. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Daegu.
First Lady Kim Hae-kyung attended the opening ceremony for a joint exhibition organized by the Seoul Museum of Art and the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation on Monday. In her congratulatory remarks, Kim said she hopes the exhibition titled Proximities will help deepen mutual understanding between the people of South Korea and the UAE and further advance cultural exchanges. Featuring around 110 contemporary artworks from the UAE. The event is part of a reciprocal cultural exchange program between the two countries. It opens to the public on Tuesday and will run through March next year at the museum's Seosomun main building. It is a Monday, which means it's time to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. So for that, we have our sports editor, Paul Neitz, joining us in the studio. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you. Hello.
So, Paul, Winter Olympics are just around the corner. So why don't we start with winter sports? I understand there were some medals won by some Korean athletes in a few different winter sports over the weekend.
Yes, that's right. Starting with speed skating, there was the first World Cup medal of the season for Kim Min-sun. In Hamar, Norway on Sunday, Kim won bronze in the 500 metres with a time of 37.835 seconds, finishing third by just 0.004 of a second. Now, the ISU will this Friday announce the number of places each country will have for the Winter Olympics, up to a maximum of 3, with 21 up for grabs. Kim sits 11th in the World Cup rankings. In other sports, teenager Che Gaon on Friday in China won her first snowboard World Cup event of the season in the halfpipe, earning 92.75 points, 2.5 points ahead of second place Rise Kudo of Japan. Another teen snowboarder, Yu Sung-eun, on Saturday in Colorado won silver in the big air with 173.25 points, the first World Cup medal of her career.
Paul, wasn't there a medal for Olympic skeleton hopeful Chung Seung-gi? Tell us more.
Right, a bronze for what was his first podium finish in nearly 2 years in an IBSF World Cup event in Lillehammer, Norway on Friday. Jong finished third with a time of 1 minute 42.66 seconds after 2 runs. Now, he is seen as someone who could win Olympic gold next year. But it's not all good news for Korea's winter sports. The ISU finalised the number of spots for next year's Olympics. The country will miss out on 1 Olympic quota spot in short-track speed skating. The loss comes in the men's 500 metres, having not won a single medal during the World Tour. All other events will have 3 athletes, not 2, however.
Paul, moving on to golf now. Some mixed fortunes for Korea's women and men golfers.
Right, good news for the ladies, not so much for the men, unfortunately, but 3 South Koreans earned their LPGA memberships for next year. In a qualifying tournament in Alabama just last week, Ju Sung-bin, Juniper Jang and Lee Dong-eun all won the results that they needed. Ju finished second, while Jang and Lee tied for 7th. The top 25 earned LPGA spots. In the men's game, though, all 3 South Koreans in the qualifying tournament failed to secure their spots. In Florida on Sunday local time, Bae Yong-jun was the highest-ranked South Korean, finishing tied for 85th at even par 280. Ok Tae-hoon tied for 92nd at 1 over par, and No Sung-yeol withdrew during the final round. Bae and Ok were aiming to move up from KPGA, having both impressed domestically.
And finally, to football, goals and assists for some Koreans over in Europe.
Right, including a dramatic late equaliser for Oh Hyung-gyu. His goal rescued a point for Belgian side Genk, drawing 1-1 with 10-man Westerlo. Oh moved on to 10 goals in all competitions, meaning he is on double figures for the 2nd season in a row. He actually went up against Cho Gu-sung in a Korean derby of sorts last Thursday in the Europa League when Genk faced Midtjylland of Denmark. Cho scored the game's only goal in a 1-0 win for Midtjylland. Meanwhile, over the weekend, there were assists for Lee Gang-in and Bae Juno. Ease came in a 3-2 PSG win over Metz on Saturday. Bez in a 2-1 win for Stoke City over Swansea, also on Saturday. Ji-sung played in that match for Swansea.
Great stuff, as always, Paul. Thanks for that. I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Yeah, see you.
As the day went on, the cold gradually eased off. Unlike the freezing morning temperatures, daytime highs stayed warmer than the average for this time of year. Seoul reached around 6 degrees Celsius this afternoon, with most areas rising 2 to 5 degrees higher than yesterday. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will climb back to above freezing temperatures at around 3 degrees, and daytime temperatures will rise to 8 degrees, making it feel milder than usual. Daejeon and Gwangju will start off at 2 degrees, Busan at 4 degrees. Daily highs will rise up to double digits in most areas, with Daejeon and Daegu at 12 degrees, Jeju at 17 degrees. Light rain is expected tomorrow in some central areas, with about 1 centimeter of snow in inland and mountainous areas of Gangwon-do province. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.
The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
its first debate over the weekend, Hill.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of the Status UN summit.
A massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang. Knock knock. The magical door to the world of K-animation is swinging wide open. Meet your instant new BFF, the adorable Catch. Tina Ping will have you hooked from the very first glance. Need a hand? Our Robocar Poli Rescue team is always zooming in to save the day. How about tagging along on Pinkfong and Pal's super exciting quest to reclaim their lost magic? With the mysterious life forms Cabion by your side, you can become a Cabion master and save humanity like the total hero. Protecting children's innocence while igniting their boundless imaginations. That's the magic of Korean animation. K-animation, the ultimate bestie for kids worldwide.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gen. The United States has approved the export of NVIDIA's cutting-edge AI chip, the H200, to China, a surprising move that signals a potential shift in Washington's high-tech strategy under President Trump. Until now, export bans on advanced chips were seen as a core tool to curb China's AI development. But this new approval raises fresh questions. So is the U.S. actually opening the door for tech cooperation or tightening its grip by keeping China dependent on American hardware? Korean chip makers Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are paying close attention as they supply key components for NVIDIA's H200. Now, with global chip policies evolving fast, the ripple effects on Korea's semiconductor industry could be significant. For a closer look into the current situation, we are joined by Song Soo-young, professor of business and economics at Chungang University. Big welcome, Professor.
Thank you for inviting me.
And also joining us is Sung-soo Eric Kim, founder and CEO of Data Crunch Global and adjunct professor of Yonsei Graduate School of Business. Good to see you, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with Professor Song. The United States has just allowed the export of NVIDIA's AI chip, the H200, like I've mentioned, to China. Why do you think President Trump actually gave the green light on this move?
Apparently, his allegation that he opened the market for H200, Hopper 200, to be exported to China by allowed. The primary reason he argues that because already China's some institutions and the research institutions and some universities have already purchased the H200, so many, and through the gray market. Therefore, he rather would like to earn some kind of fees which would help alleviate the burden of government deficit and trade deficit. Clearly, during the November, the U.S. government has shown that the government budget deficit has been reduced by as much as 47% from the same month, 2024, November. In the meantime, also, the U.S. has experienced the export gap has been reduced at the minimum for the past 5 years. So considering all these situations, apparently, the Trump has some political reason for some midterm voting in the National Congress and the Senate for the next year. So considering that situation, he would like to show that the earning 25% of fees out of the selling of H-200 would be very beneficial and to earn much larger revenues for the government, to alleviate the burden of a budget deficit as well as to reduce the trade deficit. That it would be used as a political campaign for his success as economic policy for the U.S. economy. That is the primary reason why he has reversed totally the previous policy of the about some high-tech AI chips against China.
So there really could be both political and economic motives from Washington. Now, building on that, Professor Kim, what about, in your opinion, do you think this decision could be seen as a softening of U.S. policy towards China or a calculated strategy?
So I think we have to understand that U.S. and China has something to give and take. U.S. holds the semiconductor technology, which is vital for China to develop their AI industry and also their electronics industry. So U.S. is getting into negotiation with China in terms of tariff, and the key negotiation is semiconductor. And meanwhile, China also has something to offer to the United States. They are the monopoly when it comes to rare earth material, which is critical for semiconductor manufacturing. And also, they produce soybeans, which U.S. is heavily dependent on China. So facing the midterm election next year, Trump has to also consider what is the best strategy for U.S. and for his political agenda when it comes to dealing with China. H200 is not the best semiconductor GPU in this world. NVIDIA has Blackwell, which is next generation GPU, which is 1.5 times faster than H200. So we can consider H200 as an outdated product. And we will discuss probably more today of what is U.S. strategy on providing H200 to China in that sense.
Right. So there seems to be a political motive ahead of the midterm election. But as we've been talking about a while ago, Professor Song, Washington is demanding that 25% of all H200 sales to China be paid for upfront. Then what is the economic intention behind this?
As I mentioned earlier, that clearly the economic reason is to show off his accomplishment because of the revenue generated from the fees. But I believe that H200 is actually H100 is still under the probation by the U.S. government. It is not allowed to export to China. But the majority of the AI chips used in China right now is H20, which is 1/6 of the performance speed of the chip. And also the Huawei tried to make some Asensio 910C, which is would hopefully it compete with other some A100 chips or H100 Hopper 100 chips. But in order to earn as much as revenue possible is some monopoly level goods to be sold to China would be beneficial to the U.S. Revenues for the government. And on the other hand, China's recently have used some AI infrastructure extend and make so many investment in Xinjiang area, and they have they would like to make use of the H200 for the benefit of their economy. Therefore, Trump's policy is criticized by the Senate and the Congress simultaneously, and in the U.S., and they require some kind of testimony about what is the purpose behind this kind of allowing the H200 to be sold in to the China. So I think Trump's goal is very simple: to make the most of this economic situation to the benefit of his political success. That is what he is allowing. He allows the H-200 exports to the China.
Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, we've been talking about the advancement of chips, and Professor Kim, you've mentioned that there are more advanced chips, and also that Chinese firms like Huawei are also improving their AI chips. So now the question is China will China be actually allowing the import of these chips? How competitive do you actually think the H-200 chips would really be in China's domestic market, Professor Kim?
So I think that H-200 is still a very strong chip for the Chinese science and technology industry. The current technology of Huawei is not meeting the standards of NVIDIA right now. Maybe in the long run it will do, but for the time being, it does not meet the standards of H-200 right now. But it's a question of whether the Chinese government will actually allow China to import these NVIDIA chips, because I think this is more about a political gesture, because Trump has to get into negotiation with China on rare earth materials and also a potential threat of banning soybean exports to the United States. So by allowing U.S. to export these NVIDIA chips, Trump is giving a political gesture, whether China will accept it or not. He made a deal. So it's now on the table on the Chinese side, whether they're going to accept it or not. And we also have to think about one strategy that U.S. might be considering. If Chinese companies, tech companies, continuously use NVIDIA chips, then they still become dependent on the U.S. technological standards. If the electronics market deviates from NVIDIA chips and start to use Huawei chips, then that's the moment that when it's becoming a true decoupling between U.S. and China technological standards. So while U.S. will like to slow down the AI development and semiconductor development of China, at the same time, they want to have China still dependent on the technological standards that U.S. has set for the global market. So I think there's a lot of political calculation in this gesture towards China.
Mm-hmm. So we're definitely seeing some shift around here. So Professor Song, are we really seeing change in Washington's strategy from a total restriction to selective engagement now?
Actually, Professor Kim has mentioned earlier that the hidden purpose of the U.S. government may be very sophisticated to suffocate the development of the most advanced AI chip in China domestically, because to stifle the effort to develop and increase the dependence of NVIDIA, such as Hopper chip and the Blackwell chip, or eventually the Rubin chip will be developed in 2026. But Chinese government also take into account these kind of possibilities. Therefore, they have considered how to respond, how to balance the dependence in advanced chip and also some domestically less advanced but still very useful chips for the some ordinary usage of the chips for the small language models or other types of the tools, devices to be used to make use of the chips. So that will, one possibility is the Chinese government would like to allow, along with when the company such as advanced company would like to, such as a Tencent or Alibaba and ByteDance would like to purchase the H-200 directly from the NVIDIA, not from the gray market, then it means that they allow only when it is accompanied by the purchase of some domestic developed chip manufactured by the domestic Chinese companies. So that is a possible policy and response against the U.S. Maybe purported effort to make the Chinese companies too much dependent on the advanced chips. So this is like a kind of some mutual interaction, and how it will be played out and to go to some equilibrium situation, we have to wait and see a little bit, but it's a quite interesting theater to watch over.
Definitely. Then now the question for us would be on South Korean companies' perspectives. There's talk that Korean chip makers, they might benefit from H200 exports. Professor Kim, how big of a boost could this be for local companies?
Yeah, first of all, Trump and Xi Jinping is playing a poker game right now. So we really do not know whether H200s will be exported to China or not. It also depends on how many chips U.S. will allow, and whether China will accept that or not. But we also have to understand the market situation right now. At least for the DRAM industry, the global stock is about 3 weeks to 2 weeks right now. It was 4 weeks just a couple of weeks ago, but it dropped to 2 weeks. That means that as soon as SK hynix manufactures HBM3 or Samsung manufactures their memory chips, it's sold out. So companies are lining up to buy the memory chips from SK hynix and Samsung Electronics right now. So in that sense, it may help the sales in long term, but we're already in full capacity right now. So even if China imports the H200 chips, it will not have a significant effect in the short run, but maybe in the long run, depending on how much Chinese companies will import. It will help both SK hynix and maybe potentially Samsung as well when they succeed to provide HBM chips to NVIDIA.
So if the deal is actually reached, there would be definitely some clear upsides for Korean firms. But on the flip side, of course, there would be some risks that we would have to watch out for. Professor Kim, could you name us some of them?
The risk is we have to really calculate the long-term demand in order to get into production decision right now. There are a lot of speculations about the AI bubble right now, and that's the reason why some are being concerned of the manufacturing, schedule of SK hynix and Samsung Electronics. But I have a little bit of a different view. I think it's on a moment that Korean companies should get into heavy capital expenditure decisions, because HBM technology is not similar to memory technology, where we get into a cost competition based on a same technological standard. HBM is a new technology that requires a technological lead. So that's where we need to focus on capital expenditure. And also on the demand side, we have to understand that it's not just about the AI companies using these chips. There's a lot of data centers that are being under discussion to be constructed. And the nature of the global supply and demand of these data centers is in one nutshell, that it's a duplicate investment. Every country wants to build their own data center, and that's where the investment is coming in a duplicated scale. So I think at least in some expectation in the future, we would see a strong growth in the HBM sector. So Korean companies probably should have courage to invest in this time of the economy and technological age. Just like TSMC, if you look at their reinvestment in capital expenditure, they are reinvesting about 70% of their earnings to the next generation technology. So Korean companies would have to follow that capital expenditure strategy as well, in my opinion.
Definitely. Now, so as for South Korea, we are recently, the government actually recently announced a huge investment plan of over 700 trillion won to build 10 new chip fabs by 2047. Professor Song, do you think this level of spending is actually enough to make Korea one of the world's top 2 chip powerhouses?
Oh, top 2. I hope it will be a top 3. My concern also, Professor Kim has mentioned a little bit about the possibility of the bubble in AI industry. My concern lies in that because every country, as long as they have enough capital to make an investment in this advanced AI industry, they would like to make some sovereign AI, including recently Taiwan and even the Middle Eastern countries such as Saudi Arabia. And the problem is all these countries are involved in making some AI data center, and then after that, what happens? Exactly, this is the situation very similar to the world economy because of China has produced, manufactured, supplied all the cheap product consumption goods all over the country, and then it makes the world oversupply burden. So this could be realized true of AI industry because only the most advanced AI chips are useful for some security and the top performance. But for the general people's and the general consumer's life, it does not help much at all. Actually, the person who rely on ChatGPT and then it does not lead to some general, in general, the overall productivity enhancement of just the common people and ordinary people. So this is a kind of dilemma. As long as the music is on, they would like to dance, keep dancing. But when the music stops, what happened is really my concern. So I hope this does not, so far it is okay, but we cannot continue over investment such as 700 trillion won. But this is only for AI industry, but it is AI education, AI-related investment is maybe too much. But until now, by far, it looks okay. But we have to, our government, hope to be prepared for some kind of problem that I make forecasters and to help the ordinary people's life in the future.
So a better allocation plan would be necessary in the long run. But as for now, we seem to be going in the right path, and we'll really have to continue to keep close tabs on that area. But as for now, we'll have to conclude our discussion right here. Many thanks to Professor Song.
Thank you.
And of course, Professor Kim, for your insights tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.